You're soaked. Come on, let's get you out of the rain. It's okay.
The rain fell like broken glass against Seoul's midnight streets, but Catherine barely felt it. She was too focused on the little boy huddled behind the dumpster, his knees pulled to his chest, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. His expensive clothes were torn and muddy, his face streaked with dirt and tears. And when he looked up at her with those dark, terrified eyes, something in Catherine's chest cracked wide open. She didn't know his name. She didn't know that giving him her last piece of bread would change her life forever. She didn't know that the man who would come looking for him was the most dangerous person in Seoul, or that when Kang Min-ho finally found his son clutching her hand like a lifeline, he would look at her and feel something he'd thought died years ago. Welcome to K-Fairy Tale Stories, besties. Please like, share, and subscribe. Catherine Okonkwo had learned to survive on instinct. 3 months in Seoul, working 2 jobs that barely paid rent, eating once a day so she could send money home to Lagos. The convenience store shift ended at midnight, and she always walked the same route home, cutting through the alley behind the Han River apartments where rich people lived in towers that touched the sky. She never looked up at those buildings anymore. They weren't for people like her. But tonight she heard crying, a child's voice, small and broken, coming from somewhere in the darkness between buildings. Catherine stopped walking. Every survival instinct told her to keep moving, mind her business, get home before the streets got more dangerous. But the crying didn't stop. It got quieter, like whoever was making that sound was trying very hard to disappear. She found him behind a dumpster, wedged into the corner where the alley met the building's service entrance. He couldn't have been more than 5 years old, wearing clothes that cost more than her monthly salary, torn at the knee and sleeve. His face was dirty, streaked with tears and snot, and when he saw her, he tried to make himself smaller. Catherine crouched down slowly, the way she used to approach stray cats back home. "Hey, sweetheart, are you okay?" She spoke in English first, then tried her broken Korean. "Are you hurt?" The boy stared at her with eyes too old for his face. He didn't answer, just watched her like he was waiting for her to hurt him. Catherine's heart broke a little more. She reached into her bag and pulled out the kimbap she'd saved from her shift, the one meal she'd planned to eat before bed. She unwrapped it slowly, broke off a piece, and held it out. "You must be hungry. It's okay. I won't hurt you." The boy looked at the food like he'd never seen anything more beautiful. His hand reached out, trembling, then pulled back. He shook his head, tears spilling over again. "What's wrong, baby?" Catherine kept her voice soft. "Don't you want to eat?" The boy whispered something in Korean she didn't understand. Then he said it again, louder, and she caught one word she recognized. "Appa father." "Your father? Where is he?" Catherine looked around the empty alley. "Is he coming back for you?" The boy started crying harder, and Catherine didn't need translation to understand. He was lost, or abandoned, or something worse she didn't want to imagine. She made a decision that would change everything. "Okay, sweetheart, okay." She sat down beside him in the dirty alley, not caring about her only clean uniform getting ruined. "We'll wait together. You eat this and we'll find your appa. I promise." The boy took the kimbap with shaking hands and ate like he was starving. Catherine watched him, this beautiful child in expensive clothes crying behind a dumpster at midnight, and wondered what kind of monster would leave him here. She didn't know she was thinking about the wrong monster. The next morning, Catherine woke up on her apartment floor with the boy curled against her side. She'd brought him home because she didn't know what else to do. The police station was too far to walk, and she didn't have money for a taxi. She'd planned to take him in the morning, but exhaustion had won. Now, in daylight, she could see him better. He was beautiful. Perfect skin, delicate features, hair that fell across his forehead in soft waves, and he was still wearing those expensive clothes, designer labels she recognized from the department store windows she walked past but never entered. This child wasn't abandoned by poor parents. This child came from money, real money, the kind that didn't lose their children in alleys. The boy stirred, opened his eyes, and immediately started crying again. Catherine scooped him up instinctively, rocking him like she used to rock her little sister. Shh, it's okay. You're safe. We're going to find your appa today. I promise." But when she tried to leave for the police station, the boy clung to her so tightly she couldn't pry him off. He screamed when she tried to put him down, screamed when she reached for her phone, screamed until Catherine gave up and just held him. Okay. Catherine sat on her thin mattress, feeling the boy's heart racing against her chest. "We'll stay. We'll figure this out." She fed him the rest of her food, crackers, and an apple that was starting to go soft. She let him watch cartoons on her phone even though she needed to save the battery. And when he finally fell asleep again, exhausted from crying, she looked at his peaceful face and made another choice that would seal her fate. She would keep him safe, no matter what it took. Later that afternoon, Catherine's neighbor, Mrs. Kim, knocked on her door. The old woman took one look at the boy sleeping on Catherine's mattress, and her eyes went wide. "Where did you find him?" Mrs. Kim whispered in broken English. "In the alley, last night." Catherine kept her voice low. "Do you know him?" Mrs. Kim shook her head slowly. "But those clothes, that watch on his wrist." She pointed to the small, expensive timepiece still strapped to the boy's arm. "This child is from important family. Very important." "Then why was he alone in an alley?" Catherine's voice cracked. "Why was he crying like no one in the world cared about him?" Mrs. Kim looked at her with something like pity. "You should take him to police, now. Before his family finds you first." "What do you mean?" Mrs. Kim stepped closer, her voice dropping even lower. "Important families in Seoul, they have power. They have men who do bad things. If they think you took their child, they won't ask questions first. I didn't take him, I saved him. You think they will care about difference?" Mrs. Kim touched Catherine's arm gently. "Take him to police. Let them handle this. Protect yourself." But when Mrs. Kim left, Catherine looked at the boy still sleeping, his small hand curled around the edge of her blanket, and she couldn't do it. Couldn't just hand him over to strangers. What if they didn't believe her? What if they thought she'd kidnapped him? What if his family really was as dangerous as Mrs. Kim suggested? She was still trying to decide what to do when her apartment door exploded inward. The next few seconds happened in a blur. Men in black suits flooded her tiny apartment, moving with military precision. Catherine screamed, tried to put herself between them and the boy, but strong hands grabbed her arms and pulled her back. The boy woke up screaming, reaching for her, and Catherine fought like a wild thing. "Let me go, let me go. He's scared, please, he's just scared." One of the men barked something in Korean. Another responded, and then they all went still, turning toward the doorway. The man who entered made the small apartment feel even smaller. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black suit that looked like it cost more than Catherine's entire existence. His face was all sharp angles and harder edges, beautiful in a way that felt dangerous. But it was his eyes that stopped her heart. Dark, cold, empty of everything except the kind of rage that could burn cities. Kang Min-ho looked at his son, then at Catherine, then back at his son, and something in those empty eyes flickered. "Appa." The boy was crying, reaching toward the man with desperate hands. "Appa, Appa." Min-ho crossed the room in 3 strides. His men released Catherine immediately as their boss dropped to his knees in front of his son. His hands shook as he reached out, touching the boy's face like he couldn't believe he was real. "Jae-hyun." Min-ho's voice cracked on the name. His hands moved over his son, checking for injuries, pulling him close. The boy wrapped around him like a vine, sobbing into his father's shoulder, and for a moment, Kang Min-ho looked almost human. Then he looked at Catherine, and the humanity vanished. "You," his voice was ice. "Explain now." Catherine's mouth went dry. "I found him last night, in the alley behind the Han River apartments. He was crying. He was alone. I brought him here to keep him safe. You expect me to believe you just found my son?" Min-ho stood slowly, his son in his arms, and even holding a child, he looked lethal. "You expect me to believe this is coincidence? What else would it be?" Catherine's fear was turning to anger. "I work at the convenience store 2 blocks from here. I walk home the same way every night. I heard him crying, I stopped. That's it." "Who are you working for?" His eyes narrowed. "Who paid you to take him?" "No one." Catherine stepped forward, not caring that his men tensed. "I'm a student. I work 2 jobs to pay rent and send money home. I don't know who you are. I don't know anything about your world. I just knew there was a child crying in an alley and I couldn't leave him there." Min-ho studied her, and Catherine felt like he was seeing through her skin to her bones. "You fed him," she blinked. "What?" "My son. He smells like cheap kimbap and crackers. You fed him. He was hungry." Catherine's voice softened despite everything. He was so hungry and scared. "I gave him what I had." Something shifted in Min-ho's expression. His son, who had been watching this entire exchange with wide eyes, suddenly reached out toward Catherine. He said something in Korean, urgent and pleading. "What did he say?" Catherine asked. Min-ho's jaw clenched. "He said you promised to keep him safe. He said you're nice. He said he wants to stay with you." The words hung in the air like suspended glass. Catherine saw the way Min-ho's arms tightened around his son, saw the war happening behind those cold eyes. This was a man who'd been terrified, who'd been searching, who'd probably torn Seoul apart looking for his child. "I wasn't trying to take him from you." Catherine's voice gentled. I was trying to protect him until I could find you. I'm sorry I didn't go to the police right away. I was scared and I didn't know what to do. Minho looked at her for a long time. Then he spoke to one of his men in rapid Korean. The man bowed and left. Minho turned back to Catherine. You will come with me. Now why? Panic flared. I told you, I didn't do anything wrong. I know, his eyes held hers. That's why you're coming with me. Anyone who harms my son dies. Anyone who helps him lives under my protection. You helped him, now you belong to me. Before Catherine could process what that meant, Minho was walking out of her apartment with his son in his arms. His men surrounded her, not grabbing her, but making it clear she didn't have a choice. Wait. Catherine grabbed her phone and wallet. Wait, I can't just leave. I have work. I have rent due. Handled. Minho didn't turn around. Everything you need will be provided. Walk. And because there were 6 men in black suits and 1 terrifying mafia boss, Catherine walked. The car was exactly what she expected. Black, expensive, bulletproof glass. Catherine sat in the back with Minho and his son, who refused to let go of his father, but kept looking at Catherine like she might disappear. What's your name? Minho asked as the car pulled into Seoul traffic. Catherine Okonkwo. You're not Korean, no. I'm from Nigeria. I came here to study. Her voice was barely steady. I work to support myself. Studying what? International business. Catherine looked at the child between them. What happened to him? How did he end up alone in an alley? Minho's expression went dark. That's not your concern. He's 5 years old and he was crying behind a dumpster. Catherine's anger returned. Someone had to hurt him. Someone had to leave him there. Don't tell me it's not my concern when I'm the one who found him. Minho's hand twitched like he wanted to reach for a weapon. No one in my organization speaks to me this way. Maybe they should. Catherine met his eyes. Maybe if someone did, your son wouldn't have ended up alone in the dark. The car went silent. Minho's men in the front seats didn't even breathe. The child looked between his father and Catherine, sensing the tension. Then Minho did something unexpected. He laughed. It was a short, sharp sound, but it was real. You're either very brave or very stupid. Both, probably. Catherine looked out the window. Where are you taking me? Somewhere safe. Minho's hand settled on his son's head, gentle despite everything. Somewhere you can't be touched by the people who will come looking for answers about who found my son. I don't understand, you will. His eyes found hers again, and this time there was something in them besides ice. My son was taken from me yesterday, kidnapped by enemies who wanted to hurt me through him. They called, made demands, threatened to kill him if I didn't comply. Then silence, no more calls, no more demands, nothing. Catherine's breath caught. You thought they'd killed him. I tore this city apart looking for him. Minho's voice was flat, but she heard the tremor underneath. I was prepared to burn everything to the ground. And then my men traced his location to your apartment. A nobody. A foreign student with no connections to anyone. It made no sense, because it wasn't part of anyone's plan. Catherine looked at the boy. He escaped, didn't he? He got away from them somehow and ended up in that alley. Minho was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke to his son in Korean, gentle questions. The boy answered in a small voice, tears starting again. Minho pulled him close, pressing his face into his son's hair. What did he say? Catherine whispered. He said the bad men were fighting. He said he ran when they weren't looking. He said he ran until he couldn't run anymore and then he hid. Minho's voice cracked. He said he was waiting to die when you found him. Catherine's eyes burned. I wasn't going to let him die. I know. Minho looked at her, and for the first time his expression was unguarded. That's why you're not dying either. The penthouse was obscene. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul. Furniture that looked like art. Space that could fit 50 of Catherine's apartment inside it. She stood in the entrance, clutching her phone, feeling like she'd stepped into another dimension. This way. Minho led her down a hallway, his son still in his arms. You'll stay in the guest wing. Everything you need is there. My men will bring your belongings from your apartment. Wait, Catherine followed him. How long am I staying here until it's safe? Safe from what? From the men who took my son. Minho stopped in front of a door, opened it. From their associates who will want to know how Jae-hyun escaped. From anyone who might think you were involved. He gestured inside. This is your room. Don't leave this floor without security. Don't contact anyone without approval. Don't even think about running. Catherine looked into the room. It was bigger than her entire apartment, decorated in whites and grays, with a bathroom she could see through an open door that had a tub the size of a small pool. This is insane, she turned to him. You can't just keep me here. I can do anything I want. Minho's eyes were cold again. And what I want is to keep you alive. The men who took my son won't stop looking for answers. When they find out you're the one who had him, they'll come for you. Here, you're protected. I didn't ask for this. You didn't ask to find my son in an alley either. But you did, and now we're both dealing with the consequences. He started to walk away, then paused. There are clothes in the closet. Food will be brought to you. If you need anything, press the button by the door. Someone will come, and if I want to leave, then you die. He said it simply, like commenting on the weather. Your choice, he left. The door didn't lock behind him, but Catherine knew it didn't matter. She was trapped here as surely as if he'd put her in chains. She sat on the enormous bed, pulled out her phone, and stared at it. She should call someone, her roommate, the school, the embassy, someone who could help her escape this nightmare. But then she thought about the little boy, Jae-hyun, crying in the alley. Thought about how he'd clung to her, how he'd looked at her like she was safe. Thought about the way Minho's hands had shaken when he touched his son's face. These were dangerous people. Minho had admitted to being part of something dark, something violent. But that child was innocent. And Minho, for all his ice and threats, was a father who'd been terrified of losing his son. Catherine set her phone down and made another choice. She'd stay. Not because Minho commanded it, but because running would make her a target. And because part of her, the part that had stopped to help a crying child instead of protecting herself, wanted to make sure Jae-hyun was really okay. Just for a few days, she told herself, just until it's safe. She didn't know she'd just signed away her freedom forever. That evening, someone knocked on her door. Catherine opened it to find a woman in a crisp suit holding a tray of food. Mr. Kang says you should eat. The woman's English was perfect. He says you gave his son your food last night. He wants to make sure you don't go hungry. Catherine took the tray, surprised. Thank you. The woman bowed and left. Catherine looked at the food. It was Korean, beautifully prepared, more than she could possibly eat. She sat on the bed and ate slowly, tasting flavors she'd never experienced, and tried not to think about how this felt like being cared for. Later, another knock. This time it was Minho with Jae-hyun holding his hand. The little boy brightened when he saw Catherine, pulling against his father's grip. He wants to see you before bed. Minho's voice was neutral. He's been asking all evening. Catherine knelt down and Jae-hyun ran to her, wrapping his arms around her neck. She held him close, feeling his warmth, his trust, his absolute certainty that she was safe. Did you eat dinner? She asked softly. Are you feeling better? Jae-hyun nodded, then said something in Korean she didn't understand. He says, thank you for the food last night. Minho translated. He says it was the best food he ever had. Catherine's throat tightened. It was just kimbap. It was kindness. Minho's voice was quiet. That's worth more than you know. She looked up at him, this dangerous man standing in her doorway, watching his son hug the stranger who'd saved him. And she saw something in his expression that made her breath catch. Gratitude. Real, raw gratitude that he couldn't quite hide. I should put him to bed. Minho cleared his throat. Say goodnight, Jae-hyun. The boy pulled back, looked at Catherine with serious eyes, and said something that made Minho go very still. What did he say? Catherine asked. Minho's jaw worked. He said you're his angel. He said you saved him and he loves you. Catherine's heart broke and healed at the same time. She kissed Jae-hyun's forehead. I love you too, sweetheart. Sleep well. After they left, Catherine sat on her bed and cried. She cried for the child who'd been so scared, for the father who'd been so desperate, for herself, trapped in a life she didn't choose, for all of it. She didn't know that Minho stood outside her door, listening to her cry, his hands clenched into fists. She didn't know that something in his chest had cracked open when his son called her an angel. She didn't know that he'd already made a decision about her, one that would change everything. She didn't know that Kang Minho never let go of things he decided to keep. The next morning, Catherine woke to sunlight streaming through windows she'd forgotten to close. For a moment, she thought she was back in her apartment, that everything had been a dream. Then she saw the room, saw the expensive furniture and the view of Seoul stretching forever, and remembered. She was in a Mafia boss's penthouse. She was being held for her own protection. She'd saved his son, and now she belonged to him. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, she felt strangely calm. Someone had left clothes outside her door. Expensive casual wear in her exact size. Catherine wondered how they knew. Then remembered Minho's men had been to her apartment. They'd probably measured everything. She showered in the ridiculous bathroom, put on the soft clothes, and tried to figure out what to do with her hair. She'd been planning to braid it this week, but that was before her life exploded. Another knock. She opened the door, expecting food. It was Minho. Come with me. He was dressed in black pants and a white shirt, casual but still somehow dangerous. Jaehyun wants you to have breakfast with us. Catherine followed him through the penthouse, down a different hallway, into a room that was clearly lived in. Toys scattered across expensive carpet, drawings taped to walls, a small table set with breakfast for 3. Jaehyun was already sitting, coloring something with intense concentration. When he saw Catherine, he jumped up and ran to her, grabbing her hand and pulling her to the table. He made this for you. Minho handed her the drawing. It was stick figures, one small, one tall with curly hair, holding hands under a yellow sun. Hearts scattered everywhere. It's beautiful. Catherine smiled at Jaehyun. Thank you, sweetheart. They ate breakfast together, and it was surreal. Minho cut his son's food, wiped his mouth, spoke to him in gentle Korean that sounded nothing like the cold commands he'd given Catherine. Jaehyun chattered between bites, animated in a way he hadn't been before, and Catherine realized he felt safe here with his father. Minho caught her looking. What? Nothing. Catherine looked down at her food. You're good with him, he's my son. Of course I'm good with him. But there was something in his voice, almost defensive. Not everyone is. Catherine thought of her own father, gone before she could remember him. You love him, it shows. Minho was quiet for a moment. He's everything, my whole world. When he was taken, I stopped being human. I became something else. Something that would have destroyed this entire city to get him back. The words were said calmly, but Catherine believed everyone. She'd seen his face when he found his son. She'd seen the way his hands shook. I'm glad you found him. She meant it. I'm glad he's home. Because of you. Minho's eyes found hers. You could have walked past. Most people would have, but you stopped. You helped him. You kept him safe. I couldn't just leave him, I know. Minho leaned back, studying her. That's what makes you dangerous. Dangerous? Catherine almost laughed. I'm the least dangerous person in this room. You're dangerous to me. He said it quietly, like he was admitting something he hadn't meant to. Because you made my son love you in one night. Because he asks for you every hour. Because you're the first person besides me he's trusted since his mother died. The revelation hung in the air. Jaehyun's mother was dead. Minho was raising his son alone in a world of violence and darkness. I'm sorry. Catherine's voice softened. I didn't know. 2 years ago, cancer. Minho's face was carved stone, fast, brutal, unstoppable. She made me promise to keep Jaehyun safe, to make sure he knew love even in this world. I failed. I let him be taken. You got him back. That's what matters. I got him back because you found him. Minho stood. Because you gave him food when you were hungry. Because you brought him home instead of leaving him for someone else to find. He moved closer. I owe you a debt I can never repay. You don't owe me anything. Catherine stood too, feeling the weight of his presence. I did what anyone would do. No, his voice was fierce. You did what almost no one would do. And now my son loves you. Which means I can't let you leave. Which means you're part of this, whether you want to be or not. Catherine's heart raced. What does that mean? It means you're under my protection. Minho's eyes held hers. It means anyone who hurts you answers to me. It means you live here in safety until I say otherwise. And if I want to go back to my life, you can't. He said it simply. The men who took Jaehyun are still out there. They know someone helped him escape. They're looking for that someone. If you leave here, they'll find you. And what they'll do to you will make you wish you'd never been kind to a crying child. Catherine felt ice in her veins. You're saying I'm trapped here forever. I'm saying you're alive here. Out there, you're dead. Minho stepped even closer, his voice dropping. I don't take chances with people my son loves. You'll stay, you'll be protected, and you'll accept it because the alternative is watching you die. And I won't do that to Jaehyun. The logic was twisted but ironclad. Catherine wanted to argue, wanted to scream, wanted to run. But she looked at Jaehyun, happily coloring at his table, and knew Minho was right. This child had been traumatized. He didn't need to lose another person he loved. How long, she whispered. As long as it takes. Minho's hand lifted like he might touch her face, then dropped. As long as you're in danger. As long as my son needs you. He paused. As long as I decide. That's not fair. I never promised fair. I promised safe. His eyes were dark, intense, something burning behind the ice. And I keep my promises. He walked out, leaving Catherine standing in a child's playroom, her life in pieces around her. No idea that she'd just had her first real conversation with the man who would become her everything. Later that day, a woman arrived with beauty supplies. She introduced herself as Min-ji, a hairstylist who worked with Minho's family. Mr. Kang says you need help with your hair. Min-ji smiled warmly. He says you were planning to braid it this week. I can do that for you. Catherine sat in stunned silence as Min-ji worked, her hands gentle and skilled. How did he know I wanted braids? Mr. Kang notices everything. Min-ji separated sections of Catherine's natural hair. He's very observant, especially about people he cares for. He doesn't care about me. Catherine said it automatically. I'm just here because of his son. Minji smiled like she knew a secret. If you say so, the braiding took hours. Catherine sat in her room while Minji worked and they talked. Minji told her about working for the Kang family, about how Minho had taken over his father's organization at 25 when the old man died, about how he'd been ruthless and brilliant and terrifying, about how everything changed when he met Jaehyun's mother. She softened him. Minji's hands moved steadily, made him remember he was human. When she died, he went cold again, colder than before, until yesterday. What happened yesterday? He came back with Jaehyun. Minji met Catherine's eyes in the mirror, and he wouldn't stop talking about you. The woman who saved his son, the woman who gave away her last meal, the woman who wasn't afraid of him. She paused. In 10 years of working for this family, I've never heard him talk about anyone like that. Catherine's stomach flipped. He's just grateful. Maybe Minji went back to braiding. Or maybe you're the second woman to make him remember he's human. When the braids were done, Catherine barely recognized herself. She looked beautiful, polished, like she belonged in this penthouse instead of her tiny apartment. Mr. Kang will like it. Minji packed her supplies. He specifically requested this style. How would he even know what style I wanted? He has a photo of you. Minji said it casually, from your student ID. He studied it before I came. Catherine felt something hot and confusing in her chest. He really does notice everything. Everything about you, Minji smiled. Be careful, Miss Catherine. That kind of attention from a man like Kang Minho can be very dangerous. After Minji left, Catherine stood in front of the mirror, touching her new braids, and wondered what she'd gotten herself into. She found out that evening. Dinner was in the formal dining room, just her and Minho. Jaehyun was with his nanny, already asleep after a long day. Catherine sat across from Minho at a table that could seat 20, feeling ridiculous. This is too much. She gestured at the multiple courses being served. I'm used to convenience store kimbap. Get used to this. Minho's eyes traveled over her face, her hair lingering. You'll be here a while. You keep saying that like I don't have a choice. You don't. He cut into his meat with precise movements. But I'm trying to make it bearable. By trapping me in luxury? Catherine's anger rose. I don't want your money or your protection. I want my life back. Your life back is death. His voice went hard. How many times do I need to say that? The men who took my son are dangerous. They have resources. They will find you if you leave here. Then help me leave Seoul. Help me go home to Nigeria. They can't follow me there. You think geography stops them? Minho set down his knife. You think running to another continent makes you safe? He leaned forward. I have operations in 12 countries. My enemies have more. If they want you dead, you're dead. Distance doesn't matter. So I'm supposed to live here forever? Catherine's voice cracked. Give up everything I worked for? My education, my independence, my whole future? You'll have a different future. Minho's eyes were intense. One where you're alive. One where Jaehyun has someone who loves him. One where you're protected by the most powerful organization in Seoul. I didn't ask for any of this. Neither did my son when he was kidnapped. Minho stood, walked around the table. Neither did I when the woman I loved died in my arms. We don't get to choose our tragedies, Catherine. We only get to choose how we survive them. He stood over her now, and Catherine had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. She saw fury there and grief and something else she couldn't name. I'm choosing your survival, he said it quietly, firmly. Whether you like it or not, whether you fight me or not. You saved my son and I won't let you die for it. What if I want to choose for myself? Then choose to trust me. His hand lifted, hesitated, then touched her cheek. So gentle it made her breath catch. Choose to believe that I'm trying to protect you, not imprison you. Choose to give this a chance. A chance at what? Catherine whispered. At living, at being safe. He stopped, jaw clenching. At something I can't explain yet. The air between them felt electric. Catherine's skin burned where he touched her. She should pull away, should maintain distance, should remember he was dangerous, that this was insane, that she was his captive no matter how nice the cage. But she didn't pull away. Your hair looks beautiful. Minho's thumb brushed her cheekbone. You look beautiful. You had Minji do this. I wanted you to have what you planned. His voice was rough. I wanted you to feel like yourself, even here. Why? The question came out breathless. Why do you care? Because my son loves you. Because you gave him everything when you had nothing. Because he stopped again. Something raw flashing across his face. Because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since I saw you in that apartment. Ready to fight my men to protect a child you barely knew. Catherine's heart hammered. That doesn't mean anything. Doesn't it? Minho leaned closer. His breath ghosted across her lips. Then why is your heart racing? Why are you looking at me like you want something you shouldn't want? I don't, she tried to deny it. Liar. His mouth curved slightly. I told you, I notice everything. I notice how you watch me when you think I'm not looking. I notice how you lean toward me when I'm close. I notice that you haven't pulled away from my touch. Catherine's breathing was shallow. This is wrong. Why? Because I'm dangerous? Because you're here against your will? His other hand cupped her face, holding her gently. Or because you're feeling something you didn't expect to feel? All of it. Catherine's hands came up to his chest, not pushing away, just resting there. You terrify me, good. Minho's forehead touched hers. You should be terrified. Because what I'm feeling right now is possessive and irrational and completely inappropriate. What are you feeling? She had to know. That you're mine. That saving my son bonded you to me in a way I can't explain. That the thought of you leaving, of you being hurt, of you existing anywhere I can't protect you. His hands tightened slightly. It makes me want to burn the world down. That's crazy, I know. He pulled back just enough to look at her. I've known you for 2 days. You're here because you're in danger. This shouldn't be happening, but it is. Catherine felt the truth of it. Felt the pull between them like gravity. Yes, his thumb traced her lower lip. And I don't know what to do about it, except keep you close and hope I don't destroy you in the process. He stepped back before she could respond, putting distance between them like it hurt. Go to bed, Catherine. Before I do something we'll both regret. She fled, back to her room, her heart racing, her skin still burning from his touch. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling and tried to understand what was happening to her. She'd saved a child. That was supposed to be the end of it. Good deed done, conscience clear, move on with life. Instead, she was trapped in a penthouse with a mafia boss who looked at her like she was air, and he was drowning. A man who terrified and fascinated her in equal measure. A man whose touch made her forget every reason this was insane. Catherine touched her face where his hands had been, and wondered if Minji was right. Wondered if Minho's attention was dangerous. Wondered if she was already in too deep to save herself. She fell asleep thinking about dark eyes and gentle hands, and a voice that promised to burn the world down for her. She didn't know that Minho stood outside her door again, listening to her breathe, his hands clenched into fists. She didn't know he was fighting every instinct that told him to go in there, to claim her, to make sure she never even thought about leaving. She didn't know that Kang Minho had already decided she was his, and he never let go of what belonged to him. Never. The next few days fell into a rhythm that felt both surreal and oddly domestic. Catherine woke each morning to find breakfast waiting outside her door. She'd eat alone. Then Jae-hyun would appear with his nanny, pulling Catherine into his playroom where they'd color and build blocks and read stories in broken Korean and English. The child was healing, smiling more, the shadows in his eyes fading. And he clung to Catherine like she was his anchor. Minho appeared at random times. During lunch, watching her eat with an intensity that made her skin warm. During playtime, leaning against the doorway while his son showed Catherine his toys. During dinner, sitting across from her and asking about her day like they were normal people, living normal lives. But they weren't normal. Every conversation reminded her of that. The guards outside her door, the bulletproof windows, the way Minho's phone would ring and he'd step away to give orders in a voice that made grown men shake. On the 4th night, Catherine couldn't sleep. She wandered the penthouse, exploring the spaces she'd been too afraid to enter before. She found a library with floor-to-ceiling books, a gym that looked like it belonged in a professional training facility, an office with screens showing security feeds from dozens of locations. And she found Minho on the terrace, smoking a cigarette, staring out at Seoul. Can't sleep? He didn't turn around. How did you know I was here? I always know where you are. He took a drag. There are cameras everywhere. That's disturbing. That's safety. He finally looked at her, and even in the darkness she could see the exhaustion in his face. You should be in bed. So should you. Catherine moved closer. When was the last time you slept? Sleep is optional. Minho crushed out his cigarette. Rest is a luxury I can't afford. Even powerful mafia bosses need sleep. Especially powerful mafia bosses. He turned fully toward her. The moment I close my eyes is the moment my enemies strike. The moment I let my guard down is the moment everyone I love dies. The raw honesty caught her off guard. You can't live like that forever. I've lived like this for 10 years. Minho's smile was bitter. I'll live like this until someone finally kills me. Don't say that. The words burst out of her. Jae-hyun needs you. Jae-hyun needs to be safe. Minho stepped closer. That's why I can't sleep. Because the men who took him are still out there. Because they failed and they'll try again. Because every second he's alive is a second they're planning his death. Then let me help. Catherine didn't know where the offer came from. Let me do something useful instead of just sitting here. You are doing something useful. Minho's hand lifted to her face, that gesture becoming familiar. You're giving my son a reason to smile again. You're making him feel safe. That's everything. But I could do more. I could work for you. I speak multiple languages. I have a business degree. I'm not useless. I never said you were useless. His thumb stroked her cheek. But putting you in my business puts you in more danger. And I can't allow that. You're already keeping me prisoner. How much more danger could there be? You have no idea. Minho's voice went hard. You have no idea what I do, who I hurt, the blood on my hands. You're innocent, Catherine. I want to keep you that way. I'm not a child. No. His eyes darkened. You're definitely not a child. The air changed between them. Catherine felt it like electricity, like the moment before lightning strikes. Minho was looking at her the way he had at dinner, like he wanted something he shouldn't have, like his control was fracturing. I should go. Catherine stepped back. Stay. Minho caught her wrist gently. Please, just for a moment. I need something that isn't violence and strategy and death. What do you need? This. He pulled her closer, wrapped his arms around her, and just held her. His face pressed into her hair, his breathing uneven. Just this. Catherine froze, then slowly relaxed into his embrace. She felt his heartbeat against her cheek, felt the tension in his muscles, felt how tightly he held her like she might disappear. You're exhausted. She whispered it against his chest. I'm terrified. The admission was raw. I'm terrified I'll fail again. That they'll take Jae-hyun. That they'll hurt you. That I'll lose everything that matters. You won't. You don't know that. Then believe it anyway. Catherine pulled back to look at him. Believe that you're strong enough. That you'll protect him. That we'll figure this out, we. Minho's hands framed her face. You said we. She realized what she'd done. I didn't mean yes, you did. His forehead touched hers. You're starting to see this as your fight, too. Starting to see us as an us. Is that so wrong? Catherine's hands rested on his chest. It's dangerous, but Minho's mouth was so close to hers. It's also the best thing I've felt in years. He kissed her, soft at first, questioning, giving her space to pull away. But Catherine didn't pull away. She leaned in, her hands fisting in his shirt, and kissed him back with all the confusion and fear and strange attraction she'd been fighting for days. Minho groaned against her mouth, his control shattering, his hands tangled in her braids, pulling her closer, kissing her deeper. It was desperate and messy and perfect, tasting like cigarettes and danger and something Catherine couldn't name but needed like air. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Minho rested his forehead against hers. This is insane. His voice was rough. Completely. Catherine's fingers traced his jaw. You should run from me. I can't. You won't let me leave, remember? Even if I let you. Minho's eyes opened, dark and intense. You should run. I'm not good for you, Catherine. I'll destroy everything soft and beautiful about you. Then why does this feel right? Because we're both broken. His thumb traced her lower lip. Broken things recognize each other. I'm not broken. You gave away your last meal to a stranger's child. Minho's smile was sad. You work yourself to exhaustion for people who don't appreciate you. You're so desperate to be good that you'll sacrifice yourself without thinking. He kissed her forehead. You're broken, beautiful girl. You just hide it better than I do. The words cut deep because they were true. Catherine had been running from her own pain for so long she'd forgotten it was there. Coming to Seoul, working endless hours, sending money home to a family that barely called her. It was all avoiding the truth that she felt worthless unless she was useful to someone. Don't psychoanalyze me. She tried to pull away. Why not? You've been analyzing me since we met. Minho held her close. You think I don't see you watching, trying to figure me out? Trying to find the human underneath the monster? Are you human? Sometimes, when I'm with you. His hands tightened. When I'm with Jae-hyun. The rest of the time, I'm exactly what you think I am. Dangerous, ruthless, capable of terrible things. But you're also capable of this. Catherine touched his face. Gentleness, protection. Love. Don't make me into something I'm not. I'm not. I'm seeing what's actually there. She met his eyes. You're both Minho, monster and man. And I'm not afraid of either. You should be, maybe. Catherine smiled slightly. But I've never been good at doing what I should. Minho kissed her again, slower this time, savoring. When he pulled back, his expression was conflicted. Go to bed. Before I do something that crosses a line we can't uncross. What if I want to cross it? You don't know what you're asking. Then tell me. Catherine challenged him. Tell me what you want. I want to keep you. Minho's voice was raw. I want to lock you in this penthouse and never let you leave. I want to mark you so thoroughly that every person who looks at you knows you're mine. I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep with you every night. I want things I have no right to want from someone I've known for 4 days. The confession hung between them like a live wire. Catherine's breath came shallow. She should be terrified. Should recognize this as the obsession it was. Should run as fast and far as she could. But instead, she felt wanted. Chosen precious. For the first time in her life, someone looked at her and saw everything, and wanted to keep her anyway. 4 days isn't long enough to feel this way, she whispered. I know. Minho stepped back, creating distance. That's why you need to go. Before I convince myself 4 days is enough. Before I stop caring about what's right and only care about what I want. And what if what you want is what I want too? Then we're both damned. He turned away from her. Go, Catherine, please. She went. Back to her room, her heart racing, her lips still tingling from his kiss. She lay in bed and touched her mouth, remembering the way he'd held her like she was precious. The way he'd kissed her like she was air. This was dangerous, Minji had warned her. Minho himself kept warning her. But Catherine was starting to wonder if danger was exactly what she needed. If being kept by a monster was better than being invisible to the world. She fell asleep with his taste on her lips and his words in her heart. I want to keep you. The next morning, everything changed. Catherine woke to shouting. Rapid Korean, angry voices. The sound of running feet. She grabbed her robe and rushed to the door, found guards running past, weapons drawn. What's happening? She grabbed one's arm. Stay in your room. The guard pushed her back gently but firmly. Lock the door. Don't come out until Mr. Kang says. But the boy, where's Jae-hyun? Safe. The guard was already running. Just stay here. Catherine stood frozen for half a second, then ignored every instruction and ran toward Jae-hyun's room. She found Minho there, holding his son, surrounded by guards. The boy was crying, reaching for Catherine. What happened? She pushed past the guards. They tried again. Minho's face was stone, but his hands shook. Someone got past security, got into the building. They were on this floor when we caught them. Oh my God. Catherine took Jae-hyun from him, holding the terrified child close. Is he hurt? No, but he could have been. Minho's eyes were wild with barely controlled rage. They got too close. Too fucking close. He started barking orders in Korean. Guards scattered. Someone brought a phone. Minho took it and made a call that sounded like a death sentence being delivered. Catherine sat on the floor, rocking Jae-hyun, murmuring soft words. The boy clung to her, his face buried in her neck, and she felt his tears soaking through her robe. You're safe. She kept saying it. You're safe, sweetheart. I've got you. When Minho finished his call, he looked at them on the floor, his expression cracking. He dropped to his knees beside them, his hand on his son's back. I'm sorry, his voice broke. I'm so sorry. I thought I had this controlled. I thought you can't control everything. Catherine reached for his hand with her free one. You can't predict every move. I should have. I should have known they'd try the building next. I should have. His breathing was uneven. I should have protected him better. You did protect him. Catherine squeezed his hand. He's alive. He's safe. You stopped them. But what if I hadn't? Minho's eyes were devastated. What if they'd gotten to him? What if they'd taken him again? What if they'd hurt him to punish me, but they didn't? Catherine pulled him closer with the hand holding his, creating a circle of the three of them. They didn't because you're good at what you do, because your people are loyal, because you won't let anything happen to him. I can't lose him. Minho's forehead pressed against hers, Jae-hyun between them. I can't lose either of you. The addition of her name shook Catherine to her core. Either of you. Like she was part of this unit now. Like losing her would break him too. You won't. She promised it even though she had no right. We're right here. They stayed like that until Jae-hyun's tears stopped. Until the boy fell asleep, exhausted against Catherine's chest. Minho stood carefully, gestured for her to follow. They moved to his bedroom, a space she hadn't seen before, all dark colors and masculine lines. Lay him down. Minho pulled back the covers on his massive bed. He'll sleep better here with us. Catherine placed Jae-hyun in the center of the bed, covered him gently. The boy didn't wake, his breathing soft and even now. Safe. I'm doubling security. Minho stood at the window, his back to her. Tripling it. No one gets within 100 yards of this building without me knowing. You can't live in a fortress forever. Watch me. He turned, and his expression was so fierce it stole her breath. I will burn this entire city to ash before I let them touch him again. I will kill every single person who ever thought about hurting him. I will become the monster they whisper about in nightmares. You're not a monster. Yes, I am. Minho crossed to her in 2 strides. And you need to accept that. You need to understand that the man who kisses you gently is the same man who tortured someone to death last night for information. The same man who will do it again today. Tomorrow. Every day until this threat is eliminated. Catherine's stomach turned. You tortured someone? I got the information I needed. His voice was cold. I found out they have a new base in Gangnam, that they're planning another attempt, that they want Jae-hyun because killing him destroys me, and destroying me opens up territory for them to claim. So this is business. Everything is business in my world. Minho's hand cupped her face. Even this, even you, keeping you safe is strategic because Jae-hyun needs you. Wanting you is dangerous because it creates another weakness, but I can't seem to stop doing either. What are you going to do? End this? His eyes were black ice. Tonight, we're hitting their base. We're killing everyone inside. And we're sending a message so clear that no one will ever threaten my family again. That's not justice. That's revenge. That's survival. Minho pulled her closer. In my world, mercy is weakness. Hesitation is death. You kill your enemies before they kill you, or you watch everyone you love die. There has to be another way. There isn't. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her mouth. Soft kisses that contradicted his words. This is who I am, Catherine. This is what I do, and I need you to accept it if you're going to stay. What if I can't? Then you'll leave and I'll die a little more inside. But you'll be alive. You'll be safe. And that matters more than what I want. Catherine looked at him. This complicated man who held his son with such gentleness and ordered torture with the same hands. She should be horrified, should demand he let her go, should recognize that loving a man like this would destroy her, but Jae-hyun was asleep in his father's bed, trusting them both to keep him safe. And Minho was looking at her like she was the only thing keeping him human, and Catherine realized she'd already made her choice. Made it the moment she stopped for a crying child in an alley. I'm not leaving. The words felt like jumping off a cliff. I'm staying with you, with him, whatever that means. It means you're mine. Minho's voice was fierce. It means I'll protect you with everything I have. It means you'll see the worst of me and have to love me anyway. I don't love you. Catherine said it even though it felt like a lie. We've known each other for 5 days. Then what is this? He pressed her hand to his chest, let her feel his racing heart. What do you call this thing between us? I don't know. She was breathless. Insanity, Stockholm Syndrome. Temporary madness. Or fate. Minho's mouth hovered over hers. Maybe you were supposed to find Jae-hyun. Maybe I was supposed to find you. Maybe we're supposed to break each other and rebuild something stronger. That's not how real life works. Nothing about this is how real life works. He kissed her, deep and claiming. But it's what we have, and I'm keeping it, keeping you. Later that evening, after Minho left for his raid, after his men surrounded the penthouse with enough security to stop an army, Catherine sat with Jae-hyun and tried not to think about what was happening in Gangnam. She tried not to imagine Minho covered in blood. Tried not to picture him doing the terrible things he'd admitted to. Tried not to worry that he might not come back. But she did worry. Because somewhere in 5 days, this dangerous man had become important to her. His rare smiles, his gentle hands with his son, the way he looked at her like she was precious. The way he'd held her on the terrace like she was his anchor. Please come back, she whispered it to the city lights. Please be safe. Jae-hyun fell asleep in her lap while they watched cartoons. Catherine carried him to her room, tucked him into her bed, and sat watching him sleep. This beautiful child who'd changed her life, who'd led her to his father, who loved her with the pure, uncomplicated love of a child. She must have fallen asleep sitting up, because she woke to strong arms lifting her. Minho carried her to the bed, laid her down beside Jae-hyun. You're back. Catherine's hands reached for him, checking for injuries. Are you hurt? No. His voice was rough, but I need a shower. I need to wash off the blood before I touch either of you. Catherine watched him disappear into her bathroom, heard the water start. She looked at Jae-hyun, still sleeping peacefully, then made a decision. She went to the bathroom door, knocked softly. Minho? The water turned off. A moment later, the door opened. He stood there in a towel, water still dripping from his hair, and even exhausted and shadowed, he was beautiful. Is it done? She asked. It's done. They won't threaten us again. And the people? Dead. All of them. Minho's expression was hard. I told you what I was going to do. I don't make empty threats. Catherine stepped into the bathroom, closed the door behind her. Show me what? Show me. She moved closer. Show me the blood and the violence. Show me the monster. Let me see all of it, so I can decide if I can really do this. Minho stared at her, then slowly dropped the towel. His body was perfect, muscled and scarred, stories written in old wounds. But there was no blood now. He'd washed it all away. It's gone. His voice was flat. I cleaned it off like I always do. Buried the evidence. Came home and pretended to be human again. You are human, I'm a killer. Minho's hands clenched. I've taken more lives than I can count. Tonight alone I killed 6 men. Watched them beg, watched them die, and I felt nothing. Nothing except satisfaction that they'd never hurt my son again. Catherine reached for his hand, uncurled his fist, pressed her palm to his. I'm still here. You shouldn't be. But I am. She stepped closer, looking up at him. I'm here and I'm choosing to stay. I'm choosing you, monster and man, killer and father, all of it. Why? The word was anguished. Why would you choose this? Because Jae-hyun needs me, because you need me. Catherine's free hand touched his face. Because I think I need you too, even though that terrifies me. Min-ho pulled her against him, his hands in her hair, his forehead pressed to hers. I'll hurt you. Eventually, I'll disappoint you or scare you or do something that makes you realize what a mistake this is. Maybe. Catherine's arms wrapped around him. Or maybe we'll figure it out together. He kissed her then, desperate and deep, like he was drowning and she was air. Catherine kissed him back, pouring everything she couldn't say into it. All her fear and hope and confusion and strange, impossible attraction. Min-ho lifted her, and she wrapped her legs around him, letting him carry her back to the bedroom. He laid her on the bed beside Jae-hyun, careful not to wake the sleeping child. I want you. His voice was rough against her ear. But not like this. Not with my son between us. Not when I'm covered in death, then when? When I can do it right? Min-ho kissed her neck, her jaw, her mouth. When I can take my time. When I can show you what it feels like to be worshipped. Catherine's breathing was uneven. You're making me promises. I'm making you vows. He pulled back to look at her. I'm telling you that when I finally have you, it will be because you're mine completely. Because you've chosen this life with full knowledge of what it means. Because there's no going back. What if I want no going back right now? Then you'll have to wait. His smile was dark. Because anticipation makes it better. Because I want you desperate for me. Because when I finally touch you the way I want you to remember it for the rest of your life. You're cruel, I'm patient. Min-ho settled beside her, pulling her close with Jae-hyun still between them. Sleep, Catherine. Tomorrow is a new day. She slept wrapped in his arms, their son between them, and dreamed of a future that felt both impossible and inevitable. The next morning, Min-ho had to leave for business. He kissed Jae-hyun goodbye, kissed Catherine like he was memorizing her taste, and left with promises to return by evening. But evening came and went. Night fell, midnight passed, and Min-ho didn't come back. Catherine tried not to panic, tried to tell herself he was fine. That business sometimes ran long, but Jae-hyun asked for his father a dozen times, and she saw the guards getting tense, checking their phones, exchanging looks. Something was wrong. At 2 a.m, the head of security, a man named Tae-sung, knocked on her door. His face was grim. Miss Catherine, we need to talk. Her heart stopped. What happened? Where is he? There was an ambush. Tae-sung's voice was careful. Mr. Kang and his team were hit leaving a meeting in Incheon. We lost contact an hour ago. Is he alive? We don't know. Tae-sung met her eyes. We're mobilizing to find him. But I need you to stay here with Jae-hyun. Keep him safe. Don't tell him anything until we know for sure. Catherine's knees went weak. You have to find him. Please, you have to bring him back. We will. Tae-sung bowed slightly. Mr. Kang is strong. He's survived worse. But I need you to be strong for his son. After he left, Catherine sat on her bed and let herself cry for exactly 5 minutes. Then she wiped her face, steadied her breathing, and went to Jae-hyun's room. The boy was sleeping peacefully, unaware that his father might be dying somewhere in Incheon. She sat beside his bed and whispered promises. Promises that Min-ho would come home, that everything would be okay, that they'd be a family. Promises she had no right to make but made anyway. The hours crawled past. Dawn came. Jae-hyun woke and asked for his appa. Catherine lied with a smile, said he was working late, would be home soon. The boy accepted it because children trust the adults they love. By noon, Catherine was ready to tear the penthouse apart. She demanded updates from the guards. Called Tae-sung a dozen times. Got the same answer every time. Still searching, no word yet. At 2 p.m, the elevator chimed. Catherine ran to it, hope and fear warring in her chest. The doors opened and Min-ho stumbled out. He was covered in blood, his shirt torn, a cut above his eye, bruises darkening his jaw. But he was alive, oh my god. Catherine caught him as he swayed. What happened? Are you okay? I'm fine. His voice was rough. Just need to sit down. She helped him to the couch, her hands shaking as she touched his face, his shoulders, checking for serious injuries. There's so much blood. Min-ho, you need a hospital. It's not all mine. He caught her hands, held them still. Most of it isn't mine. I'm okay. You're not okay. You're bleeding and bruised and you can barely stand. I'm alive. That's what matters. Min-ho pulled her closer, and I came back to you like I promised. Catherine couldn't stop the tears. I thought you were dead. I thought they'd killed you, and I'd never see you again, and Jae-hyun would lose another parent, and shh. Minho wiped her tears with thumbs that were still blood-stained. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. What happened? Ambush, like Taesung said. They were waiting for us. Minho's jaw clenched. But they underestimated how much I have to live for. I fought my way out, killed everyone who got in my way, and came straight home. You're insane. Catherine sobbed against his chest. You could have died, but I didn't. Because I have you waiting. Because I have Jae-hyun who needs me. Because I'm not done living yet. He tilted her face up. Because I love you. The words hung in the air like a bomb. What? Catherine's breath stopped. I love you. Minho said it again. Clearer, more certain. I've loved you since you stood in your apartment ready to fight my men for a child you barely knew. I've loved you every day since, and I almost died tonight without telling you. You can't love me. Catherine shook her head. We've known each other for a week. I've known you for a lifetime. Minho's hands framed her face. I've known you in every moment you chose kindness over self-preservation. Every time you put Jae-hyun first. Every time you looked at me like I was human instead of a monster. He kissed her softly. I love you, Catherine. And I'm not taking it back. I don't know what to say. Say you'll stay. Say you'll build this life with me. Say you'll be Jae-hyun's mother and my wife and my everything. Minho's forehead touched hers. Say you'll let me love you even though I don't deserve it. Catherine looked at this broken, bloodied man who'd fought his way back to her. This dangerous Mafia boss who'd become gentle in her arms. This father who'd give anything for his son. This monster who'd become human because she saw him that way. I love you too. The words felt like freedom. I don't know when it happened or how. But I love you. And I'm terrified and confused. And this is insane. But I'm choosing it anyway. I'm choosing you. Minho kissed her then, deep and claiming, tasting like blood and desperation and relief. When he pulled back, his eyes were wet. Marry me. He said it like a prayer. Make it real. Make this family official. Let me protect you forever. Yes, Catherine didn't hesitate. Yes to all of it. They were still kissing when Jae-hyun found them. The boy ran into the room, saw his father, and burst into tears. Appa, Appa. Minho caught his son, pulled him close, created a circle of the three of them. I'm here, buddy, I'm okay. I'm home. You were gone so long. Jae-hyun's small hands touched his father's face. I missed you. I missed you too. More than anything, Minho looked at Catherine. But I had to come back. I had to come back to both of you. Jae-hyun looked at Catherine, then at his father, then smiled through his tears. We're a family now, yes. Minho pulled Catherine closer. We're a family now. 3 months later, Catherine stood in front of a mirror wearing a wedding dress that Minho had commissioned specifically for her. Traditional Korean meets Nigerian elegance, silk and lace and beadwork that made her look like a queen. You look beautiful, he said in careful English. So do you, handsome. Catherine knelt down, straightened his tie. Are you ready? Are you? The boy's eyes were serious. Are you ready to be my real mom? Catherine's throat tightened. I've been your real mom since the night I found you. This just makes it official. Good, Jae-hyun hugged her tight. Because Appa says you're staying forever now. Forever. She kissed his forehead. I promise, the wedding was small. Just family and Minho's most trusted people. They married in the penthouse overlooking Seoul, speaking vows in Korean and English, promising to love and protect and choose each other every day. When Minho kissed her as his wife, Catherine tasted tears on his lips. His hands shook as he held her, this powerful man undone by happiness. I love you, he whispered against her mouth. My wife, my everything. I love you too. Catherine smiled through her own tears. My husband. My future. That night, after the celebration, after Jae-hyun was asleep, Minho finally made good on his promise. He worshipped her slowly, thoroughly, showing her with hands and mouth and whispered words exactly how precious she was to him. Afterward, wrapped in expensive sheets with the city glowing below them, Minho's hand settled on her stomach. I want more. His voice was soft. More children, more family, more of this. More chaos, Catherine teased. More danger, more midnight rescues, more love. He kissed her shoulder. More life, more us. 6 months later, Catherine sat in a doctor's office holding Minho's hand while they looked at an ultrasound screen. The doctor smiled, pointing to the small shape on the monitor. Congratulations. You're about 10 weeks along. Everything looks perfect. Minho's hand tightened around Catherine's. We're having a baby. We're having a baby. Catherine looked at him, saw joy and fear and love all mixed together in his expression. Jae-hyun's going to be so excited. Minho's voice cracked. He's been asking for a little brother or sister every day. Then we'd better tell him soon. Catherine pulled him down for a kiss before he starts planning their whole future. That night they told Jae-hyun over dinner. The boy's face lit up like they'd given him the world. Really, a baby? I'm going to be a big brother? Really? Minho pulled his son onto his lap. What do you think? Are you ready? Jae-hyun thought seriously for a moment, then nodded. I'll protect them like you protect us. I'll be the best big brother ever. Catherine's eyes filled with tears, watching this child who'd been so broken, so scared, now promising to protect his future sibling. Watching Minho hold his son with such tenderness, his other hand on her still flat stomach where their baby grew. This was her life now. Wife to a mafia boss, mother to his son, carrying his child, living in luxury and danger in equal measure, choosing love over safety every single day. And she wouldn't change a single moment of it, because she'd learned that sometimes the best stories start with the smallest choices, with stopping for a crying child, with giving away your last piece of bread, with choosing kindness even when the world gives you every reason to be cruel. She'd learned that love doesn't always look like it's supposed to. Sometimes it looks like a dangerous man learning to be gentle, like a terrified child learning to trust again, like a woman who thought she was invisible discovering she was precious. She'd learned that family isn't just blood. It's choosing to stay. It's showing up every day. It's protecting each other through the darkness and celebrating together in the light. 2 years later, Catherine stood in the same penthouse, holding their daughter, while Jae-hyun helped Minho set up for the baby's first birthday party. The little girl had Minho's dark eyes and Catherine's smile, and both her father and brother were completely wrapped around her tiny fingers. Happy? Minho asked, coming up behind Catherine and wrapping his arms around both of them. Deliriously, Catherine leaned back against him. Who would have thought that giving away a piece of kimbap would lead to all this? Fate. Minho kissed her neck. You were always meant to find Jae-hyun. I was always meant to find you. This was always how it was supposed to be. Even the dangerous parts, especially the dangerous parts, because they taught us what we were willing to fight for. He turned her to face him, their daughter between them. They taught us that love is worth the risk. Catherine looked at this man who'd been a stranger, then a threat, then her savior, and finally her everything. This man who'd learned to be human again because she'd seen him that way. This man who protected his family with violence and loved them with every gentle piece of his soul. I'd do it again. She said it with absolute certainty. Every choice, every risk, every terrifying moment, I'd do it all again to end up here with you. So would I. Minho kissed her, soft and sweet, their daughter giggling between them. Every single time. And in that moment, surrounded by the family they'd built from broken pieces, Catherine understood that this was always where she was supposed to end up. Not in the life she'd planned, but in the life she'd chosen. The life that chose her back. The life that started with a crying child and ended with a love story that defied every rule. The life that proved that sometimes the best things come from the moments when you choose kindness over convenience, when you give instead of taking, when you see the human in the monster and refuse to look away. This was her life. Dangerous and beautiful and absolutely perfect. And she wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.